Welcome to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. I'm Rebecca Powers, so happy to be your host. Great to see you, Tom. Thanks for always having me.
Hey, good to see you too.
So we're getting into the holidays. It's such a wonderful time of year. We reflect on family and what really matters. And I was reading a study that said that every year, when every newscast that you see, people say, what are your New Year's resolutions? They are always lose weight, get healthier, or number one and number two. Never, not on the entire list of 10, did anyone say get more financially sound. So I thought of you, and I thought, what could be more important than than getting financially sound? Finances affects your health, your wealth, your family, your relationships. It affects everything. And the biggest fear people have is running out of money. Isn't that ironic?
That's ironic. Thanks for attending our show today. That's everything you need to hear right there. It's time
Goodbye.
to No, you're right. I mean, my dad used to say, he was a barber for a while he was also in the ministry, and my hair never got cut. And he said, well,
son.
Yeah, because the barber's son's hair never got cut. I was thankful. And the painter's house is never painted. And the mechanic's car is always the one that doesn't run well because they're always working on somebody else's car. And when it comes to finances, they're always doing something else. I mean, who's going to really put that as a top priority? I want to wake up tomorrow and get my fiscal life in order, not my physical, but my fiscal. And then they don't build a treadmill for finances.
And they don't teach it to us in American education, in any education, so it's tough.
No, it's almost like if it's really important, let's exclude that.
Yeah.
And that's the way it is. But when the research shows that when somebody turns 58 years of age, immediately they go into a category of people that the most crucial concern, the biggest fear they have is running out of money.
Yeah.
So for the first 57 years, and there's a reason it always comes up at that level of age, for the first 57 years, it's just not important enough for somebody, for the mass amount of people who are out there to do something about it.
Well, because we're all still in the accumulation phase, as you talk about.
Exactly.
So it's not a thought.
You know, back in 1995, when I first got into financial services, I had been in the ministry for 19 years, and for whatever reason, they always put me in charge of benevolence. And that's when somebody comes to the church and they look for money, and they need money. And I had in Texas, in California, in Oklahoma, and Indiana, some of the churches that I had served in, I had people stand in front of me at my desk, in the office, at the church, and they were trying to decide to buy food or medicine.
Sad.
And it was sad. It's to that point because they didn't have the money to buy both. And when I got my license to start insurance and investments, June the 8th, 1995. I remember I met with the sales manager on the insurance side, was a guy named Jim. I still love him to death. We talk about once a year. And the guy that was on the investment side was a guy named Bruce. And they said, who do you want to work with? And it was a big box firm. It was a part of the New England that became part of MetLife. And what they were meaning was, do you want to work with lawyers or doctors or dentists or engineers, or people that typically amass a lot of money? Now, this was 1995. And I told them, I said, you know what, I'm really set on this. I want to work with retirees. And you would have thought I had said something completely crazy.
Right.
Because the leading edge of baby boomers were just turning 50 in 1995.
Wow.
Now, hey, you're missing out. You could be homeless. And if you get the right kind of mailers at the age of 60, you can feed yourself almost every night of the week by going to a retirement dinner seminar.
Right.
Everybody's an authority.
They're all trying to get the retirees now, but it was your passion, part of your ministry. You wanted to help people retire, not just get the doctors and lawyers with the big bank accounts.
From the very beginning, my goal was, and when they asked me, well, what's your purpose statement type thing? And they didn't call it that back then because we learned that's what you should call it since then. But I told them, I said, I want to make sure that people never run out of sufficient income the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Now, since then, I've added to it, we work with people who are pleasant to get along with, and we make sure they never run out of money the rest of their life, and they pay as little in taxes as they're legally required to pay. So we've added to it. But everybody's afraid that they're going to run out of money, and that's what I've always wanted to do. Everybody now is a retirement genius and a retirement specialist, and it's for two reasons. That's where the people are, because 12,000 baby boomers are turning 65 still every single day.
Wow.
So that's where the people are, and you know what? They figured out that's where the money is,
right?
Because people usually at 65 have more money than people when they're 25. Just saying that's the way it is in the real world. So everybody has immediately turned themselves into a retirement expert, but many times they don't really understand the touches that you need to have and the things that you need to address. Now, you can look at my gray hair. I am not 25. I'm not 35. I won't keep going. But I tell even my younger people when I'm training them, you can understand what it means to retire and have X amount of dollars in your head.
Right.
And it's really important that you go past just understanding what it means to build a plan for somebody to retire so that they can be guaranteed to have all the money they need for income the rest of their life, if it's possible, and they pay as little in taxes. You've got it. You've got the numbers. Some of them have higher financial degrees than I do. Mine's only an MBA from Pepperdine. But you know what? They miss it by 18 inches or 12 inches because I feel it here.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah,
it's
because
right
I'm
here.
the same age of a lot of my clients. I grew up on a farm. I'm probably never going to quit working or the cow will go dry. So you can't stop. And I enjoy like crazy what I'm doing. But I tell my new guys, you've got to not just get it here, but you've got to get it in the heart when we're helping people.
Because that's the difference, again, with the big bucks and you and your independent group. Because some of your first meeting together, they're going to ask you, what are your goals? What are your dreams? Who are your children? What are their names? What are their ages? That's where it starts, because you build your house with the end in mind. How do you want that house to serve you?
Right. I know it's not proper English to end a sentence this way, but what's this money for? What's the purpose? Is it for you just to accumulate a ton of money and be a rich old person that nobody ever wants to talk to and lose your kids and not have any grandkid relationships and stuff like that? Or is it there for a purpose that's going to enhance the life that you have worked so diligently to build for yourself? And that's why when you're building it, and a lot of you are so good at building it, that's the accumulation phase where you're building that. And like right now, when you're building it, if you're 25 and 35, this downturn we've had, it's a good thing. Because the price of stock, the price of investments, the price of exchange traded funds, the price of almost everything is down because of the 25%, 20%, 30%, who knows, depending on what you want to invest in. So if I'm buying that investment, I'm buying it a lot cheaper.
Gotcha. It's on sale.
Right. But let's flip over to the retirement people who are in retirement. You're not in the accumulation phase that a lot of the big box firms are really good at. You're in the preservation stage. Okay? You want to make sure it's going to last as long as you do. And if you're taking money out of your investments and you're just doing it haphazardly and you don't have a retirement blueprint that actually puts it together and addresses why you have this, what it's doing for you, why you have this, what it's doing for you, you're just taking it out of the big lump like a lot of the big box firms want you to do. Everything you're taking out right now is an investment that is devalued because of the stock market. So if you get the same amount of dollars out every single month, you're taking more and more and more out of your portfolio than you really realize. So it's a bad thing when the market goes down when you're withdrawing. It's a good thing when the market goes down when you're building. You know, if your husband came home and said, you know, Rebecca, I've been thinking about, and we've been talking about buying that rental house, and I just read in the newspaper, and by the way, the newspaper is that printed thing that we used to get on our doorstep every day, but just so you remember. But if your husband came home and said, I just read that prices of houses are higher than they've ever been before, I think we should go buy a house right now.
I'll say, don't you know we play Monopoly and that's the opposite thing? My 14-year-old can do better than that. But you're right, it's true. And when you're taking out, you're messing up that compounding interest that Einstein called should be the eighth wonder of the world.
Right.
So important to remember.
As long as you're adding, buy cheap, okay? Play offense.
Yeah.
Play offense. When you're in the preservation stage, in the downturns, You might even want to see if you could cut your expenses right now because you're taking more shares out of your investment every single time. And now's the time to play defense. Hey, look, wherever you are, we can help you. We can help you by putting together a retirement blueprint that's going to address the very first thing I ever got into this industry to do, to make sure you never run out of money the rest of your life. Our show's called Right on the Money. Well, you can call this show Not Running Out of Money, okay? Because that's what we would help you do if you pick up the phone, you call us, see one of our advisors. We all work the same way, but every plan, Rebecca, is entirely different depending on the person that we're working with and the building material you bring to us to work with. So pick up the phone and call us, 866-709-1462. We can set up a time for you to come into one of our offices. We have offices in Glendale, Anaheim, Chino, Scripps Ranch down in San Diego. You come in, we will sit down with you and we will give our total focus to you and your situation so that you can get some peace to know that you're not going to run out of money. You know my biggest thrill in the whole industry?
What?
When I'm sitting there with a couple and there's a big book out that says, know your why. My why is the sigh. When I'm sitting with somebody whose fear is running out of money, and we can put together a retirement blueprint that shows them how they're never going to run out of money the rest of their life. And they sit there and they go, and I think, yes.
Yes.
And that's why I'll work forever, because I love seeing that with people, that's their biggest fear.
Thank you, Tom. And you might be mad at me for saying this, but he's even older than he looks.
Thanks
when
a
you
lot.
told me in the dressing room the
I
year you were
just knocked-
born.
I knocked my cane over right
No,
here.
I mean, really, it is truly amazing, the things that you have done in your life. All right, stay with us more. Right on the money or never run out of money right after this.
Right.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have. By running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review today.
Welcome back to Never Running Out of Money. We just renamed the show in the last block. Okay, so we were talking about, of course, never running out of money, the preservation, the risk. That's one of the things that you all talk about when you get into that blueprint conversation, right?
Absolutely, and we've somewhat been lulled to sleep in the past 13 years because there really wasn't a lot of risk in the market. If you put your money into the market on March the 9th of 2009 and you bought the Dow Jones Industrial Average, that's top 30 industrials that are out there, you were buying at about $6,400 of value, and you could have bought into the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Right now, we're down about 8,000 in the Dow Jones.
Wow.
And we still are over 29,000. So yeah, be disappointed with the big downturn in the market and the $8,000 downturn, but you're still almost 5 times what it was just 13 years ago. So we went to sleep. I mean, you know, when everything's going well, you go to sleep sometimes.
Autopilot.
Yeah, and you're not so concerned about stuff. So what's happened is we've forgotten about risk. In fact, everybody's making money. Man, it wasn't just the 5 years up and the 1 year's down and the 5 years up and the 1 year's down like it was for about 30 years before that.
Yeah.
Now it was like 5 years up, whoop, 5 more years up, whoop, 3 years up. We thought it would go on forever until about December of last year. And in December of last year, the descent came. And now we're 20, 25, 30% down, depending on what indice you look at. And people are saying, wow, there are issues with the market. I can't just put my money in the market and make 8, 10, or 12% every year.
Yeah.
And there are issues with inflation. I can't just assume that inflation's always going to be 3%. It's never going to go that way. You know, a big box firm will work with you and they'll do several things. They'll say, you know, what we're going to do is we're going to do this Monte Carlo simulation, and the Monte Carlo simulation, what do you think inflation's going to be, Rebecca? Maybe 3%? Okay, well, let's put in 3% every year. And what do you think you need to make? Well, I think I need to make 6%. Okay, let's make 6% every year. And you put your money in there and you say, well, that's my plan. That's not a plan, that's a hope.
Yeah.
Hope is not a plan. Because how's your 3% inflation working this year?
Well, they're saying it's 9%, but you know in the grocery store it actually is more like 25 to 30, even 40% in some states.
Eggs are 39.6. That's almost 40.
Unbelievable.
You know, and meat.
Yeah.
And for retirees, you have a particular niche of an inflation rate because you do a lot of travel, you do a lot of air travel, a lot of you do a lot of cruises and things like that. Guess what? Cruises are up 45%. I mean, they're up a big price. I love to take cruises. I like to do mine in Europe, but all of those prices are escalating far faster than normal things that are out there that the normal run-of-the-mill person. So inflation has really hit. How does 3% inflation work? 6% gain every year in the market. Ooh, what do we do with a 30% downturn in the market, and how do we handle that? Well, it just goes to show that you can't have a cookie cutter plan.
Right.
You can't have a plan that assumes that everything's going to happen the same thing every year. You need a specific plan that is for you. And you know, you get to be 59 and a half, even the government has come in and said, there are some things we can do to help these people. One thing is, a lot of people have never heard of it. If you're 59 and a half and you're still working and you're sitting there thinking, man, I wish I could protect my savings. What you say sounds good this year. I sure wish that my 401k had been protected. Guess what? I used to work for MetLife in the New England, and one of the things they had me do was put together the composition of 401k plans that they ran. And a lot of times they came in fact, they never said it in these terms, but they came in and they said, let's put 3, 4, or 5 really good investments in that 401k, and let's put some of the dogs we can't sell in the real world out there.
Yeah.
So you got 20 options in a 401k, you got 25 or 30 options in a 401k, and by the way, now, Rebecca, they've come up with these target plans. And a target plan is simply the old 60-40 stock bonds, 70-30 stock bonds, just under a different name at a target that you need to hit. Earlier this year, the Wall Street Journal ran a big article on the fact that one of the biggest losers in a downturn this year has been target funds, because stocks have lost historically and bonds have lost historically. So you're a double loser. It's not like it was 40 years ago. People are so asleep on this.
Yeah.
It's not like it was where if stocks are going down, put your money in bonds.
And vice versa.
Bonds are going down. That went out the window a long time ago. At least since the 1990s, that hasn't worked. So you're operating and you're just on automatic pilot.
Yeah.
And sometimes you go to sleep on risk. You go to sleep on that. Well, the government came along a few years ago and said, let's do what's called an in-service distribution. Now, if you're still working and you're 59 and a half and you have a 401k and you wish it could have been protected, I can't go back to January 1st, but I can tell you this. Most companies will allow you to remove some or all of your money out of a 401k if you've already reached 59 and a half and put it into an IRA where you can start doing retirement planning, because 401ks are not a retirement plan. They're just a vehicle to raise money that really focuses on 25 and 30-year-olds. Hey, if you're interested in finding out about that, this is not something new. It's just something that they don't talk about all the time, but you need to come see us. You need to sit down with one of our advisors. All of us are well versed in what will work for you and what won't work for you, even if you're still working, to protect the assets that you have in your 401k. You've got to reach up, grab the phone and call us, 866-709 866 and come in for an appointment. I mean, a phone call or trying to set up some of those kind of things, they don't work if you're serious, if you really mean business. Let's say you've never retired before, okay? Let's say you're serious about doing it right the first time at least that you retire. Then you need to call us. You need some professional advice and input into what you're doing.
Absolutely, thanks. And it's just a absolutely complimentary appointment. That's what I want to really remind people. There's absolutely no obligation, and it truly is a complimentary look at what you have going on, kind of a second opinion. Okay, stay with us. More right on the money after this.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
All right, welcome back. We were talking about risk, and of course you have to evaluate your true risk to figure out how you can preserve the money that you've already earned. How do you do that? I know technology makes it a lot easier than it was 30 years ago.
Well, you know, you work with a lot of firms and they'll say, well, you're a moderate. Well, what does that mean? Or you're a conservative. You know, you want to be conservative? We had a lady, 79 years old, about 2 years ago now, and she said, I told my broker at a big box firm, I want to be very, very, very conservative. We did the analysis on her and it put a score to it. She was 123% as risky as the market.
Wow.
Now she was happy because she was making money. But since the downturn, she's 79 years old, maybe 82, 81 or something like that now, and she's lost a lot of money if she's continued to have that kind of risk in her portfolio. There's 2 risk scores you need, and they're a number. They're a 0 to 100 number. You have inside here somewhere a risk tolerance score. Now we use a program that we allow you to take a few questions and a few quizzes, and if you know anything about the way those programs are made, I say it bounces you off the wall of what kind of risk. No, I don't want that risk. Yes, I'll take that risk. And it narrows you down in about 9 to 17 questions. And it'll say, Rebecca, your risk score is 63. Okay, now that's important because that's the risk level that, well, I've done it 5 years. And I've had one person that disagreed with it. And after a year with us, he came back in, he says, you know, I sort of like that risk level that score says I was. Because your risk score is different. And I'll promise you something else too. Your husband's risk score is different than yours.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, I had one husband and wife. He was a 22, she was a 95. She worked on a riverboat. No, I'm just kidding, okay? But she was just really, when it came to investments, much a gambler.
Yeah.
There's another risk level, and that is the risk level that you are currently taking in your current portfolio. That's why when you come in, we say bring your statements. Now that's not a plan. That, like the CPAs that we talk about every now and then, is looking in the rearview mirror to see how things were last year. A statement is looking at the last quarter, looking at the last month. It has nothing to do with building a plan going forward. We take your statements and we let a company called Morningstar. I love Morningstar because they have no skin in the game. In other words, they don't sell any investments. The only thing they sell is a report.
Yeah.
And we send your statement to them and we say, give us the risk score of this statement. It's not uncommon for people to come in and say, well, my risk score was 41 and my portfolio is at an 85, because every broker's trying to make you money during a 13-year run-up.
Yeah.
So you're at an 85 on your risk score on your portfolio. You're taking that much risk.
Wow.
And you should be down around 35 or 40. What will make you happy, what will allow you to sleep at night and not worry about running out of money is if you have a plan in place, and in there you know moderate, conservative, balanced. Let's go to a number. That's my risk score, and that's where my portfolio is. The company that does this Riskalyze analysis for us, I heard the guy on a podcast recently said 88% of the people are taking significantly more risk in their portfolio than they really should be comfortable with. So we all like to make money, don't get me wrong. We all like to win. We all like to go to the parties and talk about how much money we made this year, because I know you don't do it, but guys, when you get away with just the guys, you do talk about it. It's all well and good until we have a downturn. Yeah. Until the market falls down, and you should have been protected, but you were taking far too much risk. Warren Buffett, a really popular person, said last year when all the market was at a 13-year high, he said, it's like the tide coming in. When the market turns down and the tide goes out, we're going to find out who's swimming naked. Yeah. Some of you look at your statements, you see all those parentheses, you see all those negative totals. You're swimming naked right now. It looked good for a while, but you've really, really had a tough year. I want to ask you, call us, 866-709-1462. We can match up your risk score with your portfolio risk score and build a retirement blueprint for you out of the lumber yard you have, so you can go to bed at night and not worry about running out of money.
There are so many tools and so many wonderful advantages that you can take, especially with paying less taxes. Meet Tom and his wonderful team, and go on our website and find these great free seminars that you can go get educated about all kinds of things. And be sure to call that number, 866-709-1462. And we will see you again next week. Thanks for joining us.